if you're a business that, has gotten started, you got some new employees, you are budgeting out, you've got payroll expense, you're going to find yourself with an end of 2026 cash problem because you will have absorbed an extra pay period this year or in 2026 that you weren't expecting.
Welcome to the CEO Bros Podcast, After Hours, with Brian Baldoff, co-founded, grew, and sold VHT Studios. Brad Baldoff, CEO and co-founder of By Your Side Autism Therapy Services. Matt Croak, the consummate entertainer, jack of all trades, and serves as our host.
We are going to start right off the bat, which I feel is...
We all have pet peeves.
We never let Matt go with his
pet peeves.
idea.
Clearly, I didn't know this was happening.
Pet peeves. If someone's got bad breath, that's the best way to let them know. Clink. And I'm not saying you do.
Wow, that's like
literally sitting next to you. What do you mean
No,
it's not
I'm
me?
He could have said, Matt, do you want a mint? But no, he holds out a bottle of mouthwash.
Yeah.
And then
sorry.
follows it up with bad breath.
I'm
My
sorry.
pet peeve.
Sorry. No, you don't, by the way. Okay, so
I pass this over to
yeah,
Brian.
I know, because Brian's already given me like 10 breath mints, so Brian's already covered the
CEO
plate.
Bros.
CEOs, bro, we're starting with what
Did you say CEO Bro?
CEO Bros After Hours.
Yes.
So it is After Hours. And I think we're starting with, I don't want to say breaking news, but Brad, you brought something up that you were going to talk about. I think this has kind of blown my mind. I think we start with this. This is a very important message, PSA, whatever you want to call it. Tell us what you discovered for 2026.
All right, when I asked you how you're going to start this podcast, I didn't think
you were going to put him on the spot.
Yeah, I didn't think he was just going to throw it over to you, Hal.
Sorry, but this is, I'm still trying to put my, I'm still trying to put my
Matt's
brain.
worried about getting his paycheck.
I'm
now.
still
Yeah.
trying. Well, no, yeah.
No. So it's really interesting. Well, I think what you're
Yes.
referring to, because you
Yes.
didn't give me any heads up that we were going to talk about this.
Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, what's interesting is I learned in 2026 that any businesses that pay their people on a 2-week cycle, so not the 1st and 15th of the month, not once a month, once a week, but every 2-week paycheck, those businesses are going to experience 27 pay periods in the course of 2026, not 26 pay periods. Why is that important? Well, if you're a business that, has gotten started, you got some new employees, you are budgeting out, you've got payroll expense, you're going to find yourself with an end of 2026 cash problem because you will have absorbed an extra pay period this year or in 2026 that you weren't expecting. And it was actually so surprising to me because our finance department raised it with the payroll company and they were surprised. So I'm like, wow, that's going to throw some companies seriously off. And what's interesting about it is you would think then, if there's 27 pay periods in 2026, there'd be 25 pay periods in 2027. And that's not the case.
You don't get it back.
The 27th pay period happens once like every 10 or 11 years. I don't know what time frame it is, how often it happens, but it isn't something that you're going to get back the following year. So what are we doing about it? We're actually communicating to our employees that, hey, if you're used to getting X amount during your paycheck, expect to get less money per paycheck because you're going to get one extra paycheck in 2026.
Well, that's why I'm starting it.
So people think they're getting gypped,
Right.
they're getting cheated,
Yeah.
you're cutting my payback. It's like, no, you're getting an extra pay period. So it was actually the reason I wanted to finish is because we actually had to have a team meeting, a senior leadership meeting to talk about that people, if they're not going to get your messaging, we go back to communication. You have to explain why this is happening. You have to explain that, no, you're getting the same amount of money, just over more pay periods in the same amount of time. This, by the way, this only works or only affects, I should say, salaried employees.
Right.
Hourly workers, it does not. But still, just a total shock.
And this has nothing to do with leap year. It's what you
Nope.
said every 10 years or something like that.
No, but you want to talk about locusts? Locusts every 7 years. For those of you that experience the crazy cicadas in the North Woods.
last year.
Yeah, because that happened here last
Yes,
year.
it did.
Cicadas.
It was everything is advertised.
Can we maybe
It
put
was
some cicada videos
everything
on
is
and what
advertised.
happened
My
here?
goodness.
Hordes of desert locusts periodically descend on Africa and invade human territory. The sheer voracity of these insects dropping from the skies turns them into an unstoppable plague.
It was
But,
everywhere. That's why I started the episode, because it's not only financially, but if you don't start communicating to your employees, hey, very soon your paycheck will be less. We did not lower your pay.
Or as a business, if you have employees and you're paid on this 2-week cycle, at the end of 2026, you're going to start scratching your head going, why are we out of money? Why are we running out of money? But you're going to run out of cash if you don't budget appropriately. And it was just kind of funny that we, as a company with 580 employees, we found it by accident, and our payroll processing company did not even know it. And by the way, the first pay period in 2026 is coming up like very quickly.
Yeah.
And so if you're not talking about it, you're not planning for it. This is going to be a wake up party. So I thought it was interesting that you brought it up, because Brian and I were actually talking about employee and compensation and talk around that. And I said, hey, Brian, I got an interesting one for you.
It fits in as well, because when you talk compensation, you're not only it's all the benefits people are getting outside of, I think some of it outside of the salary, which they may not fully appreciate. And I'm always interested on how that is presented to employees. So it's a perfect topic. We're going to talk about compensation right now, which that great news bit falls right in. So compensation.
Well, it's not great news. It's
great news bit and a great news.
Interesting news.
Great heads up. Great heads up. Great alert. It's a great alert.
Oh, it clearly isn't great news.
Not great news. It's a great alert of if you're not aware, because even the pay company was not, that's coming your way.
Yeah, that's actionable. Info.
Yeah. So, Brian, you
compensation.
Where do you want to take this? Where do you want to take this topic? Because this could go literally.
Yeah, I think let's keep this one wide and thin, because there's a lot of components to it. And we can kind of figure out what sticks, what doesn't. Do other episodes on the deep ones. Because to me, I break it down the same kind of things we break. What are the components of compensation? What are the important considerations you need to make? What are the issues that come up with compensation plans?
What's included in compensation? Matt just alluded to. Well, you have base pay, you have incentives, you have bonuses, you have health benefits, you have other benefits that people don't account for in the overall equation, but it's your compensation package. And I think that a lot of people don't do apples comparison when they're looking at, say, I get paid X versus they're going to pay me Y, and you don't realize, but you have to also kind of add up all the benefits or benefits that come with a job or don't come with a job to do what your total compensation package is. And I think that could be in its own episode, right?
Well, and it gets to, what I started with is it depends on your business. This is something you have to think through, like when you're trying to come up with compensation for salespeople, incentives drive behavior. It's the same thing here. What compensation structure do we need for our organization? Like, there's a big difference between companies that have people in their 30s and 40s versus people in their 20s. Like, I was always frustrated. I was a big fan of matching a 401k plan. But when we were young and most of our employees were young, they didn't care. They didn't understand the value of it. So it was kind of a waste to have it in our comp plan. And to some extent, even health insurance. Like, once you start having kids, you really appreciate health insurance if the company covers the whole family, which is a huge decision. So just, starting out thinking about what's our comp approach. Like, I'll give you an example. For VHT, I said, look, I would love it if everybody here was in the top 20 percentile for their particular craft. Like, customer service reps, you're in the top 20% of all customer service reps in terms of pay. Accountants, you're in the top 20%.
Looks like you want to enter bankruptcy as quickly as you possibly can.
That was what I would like to achieve.
Of course, well, we
can't do that day one. If we want to get to the point where you're the highest paid for your particular specialty or whatever, this is what we need to do as a company. We need to dominate this industry. We need to grow fast. We need to, convey our value proposition and charge a premium. Like, we can't be paying premium compensation packages if we're selling a dirt cheap product and we're competing with the bottom feeders. So this gets back to your point of making sure people understand the correlation between
the components of your pay versus the revenue, how the revenue comes in.
Yeah, what
the interval of revenue, the restrictions you have on revenue. I mean, you talk about, Brian, well, you can't pay somebody. Your thought pattern is, I want to pay somebody some really good money. I want them in the top 20% of all in that craft, but we can't do it from a very low end discounted provider competing with the bottom feeders, because the reality is that just doesn't add up to success. Right. You're going to lose somewhere unless of course you're doing absolutely crazy volume. Yeah. If you're doing crazy volume, low margin, still a risk, but yes, I mean, you have to take that into consideration right up front. So it's interesting though, then, Brian, did the comp plan for you guys when you're thinking about from the very beginning, when you were starting VHT, did you say, our product is going to be X and we're going to price the product here, and then you figured the pay after? Or did you say, these are the people we have to get in order to roll this out, and the product and the service followed that? What drove it?
Well, it's funny because in hindsight, I would have preferred to do it the second way, but we did it the first way. Like, here's our product, and then here's the people we need. And then you look at, we talk about components. One of them is, what is the market rate? Like,
I can't pay you, but what I can give you is this. It's like, hey, I can pay you in apples. What?
And it used to be a lot harder to do this kind of research, but how much does a customer service person make for a service business in Chicago? Because it doesn't help to look at, what does a customer service person make for a high-tech company in California? That's
you lose.
Totally different things.
Yeah, you lose.
So understanding what it's just like everything else. What are their options? They come to work for me for $30,000 a year, or they can walk across the street and work for a similar type company for 40. I'm in trouble. I'm not going to get the best people, so I'm not going to be able to sell the best services. So those are some of the early considerations you make when you're putting together a comp plan: is what's competitive, what is enticing to the people I'm trying to hire. And we were fortunate in the early days. We were in the early .com days, and we were a .com company. So there was some of the intangibles of the compensation where I'm doing something cool. I'm working in a business that has a lot of potential. So they might take a lower salary for the potential upside in the future. And those are the kind of people we wanted. We didn't want somebody that said, I really need to make as much money as I can right now, and I don't care if the job's boring and the company's boring.
Well, I know By Your Side is based off insurance, so it might not be the same, but jump in if it is. But Brian, did you struggle when you were studying VHT what your price point was? Do CEOs struggle with, am I going to be high end, low end, middle? Like, where do you figure that out?
We did struggle, but for a different reason. We were pioneers. There wasn't a comparable service.
Okay, so
to us.
So your product, $100 could be way too much, or it's like, God, you're really undercharging for this.
Yeah, we had to figure out what the market would bear. There was no, we're not replacing some other service that's currently $200. We're providing something that's never been done before. How much is that worth to people?
So how many times did that move on you?
A lot.
So the marker went way up. Then it's like, that's too much. We got to start moving it down. Did you?
Yeah, you kind of figure it out, and we were,
we're doing really great. Oh, we got to raise it.
Yeah. Were the moves dramatic though? Like, there's a difference between we got to take it up by $20, where people are like, that's palatable, I can swallow that. But if you're like, we're offering a $200 service where we should be charging $450, where it's all of a sudden is like, one day we made the decision we're going to make a dramatic up or down. Do you remember a day where you're like, was there a swing one direction or another where you're like, this is significant what we're doing?
Yeah. So for us, though, it wasn't about changing the price. It was about changing the product and how we described it and delivered it. So I think I've told this story before. When we first started, we had one product, and it was, okay, is the price $100 or is it $300? As we started to understand the market, we said we need tiers.
Yeah,
because there's some people that are willing to pay $500
Right.
for a little bit extra. There's other people who just want the least expensive thing they can get.
Give me
So
the
that
nuts
was
and-
really
nuts
the
and
big
bolts.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of the price moving,
And you
a
did
lot,
something in
it
the
was
middle. You
product
thought the
tiers.
middle was your best one, right?
Yeah, so it was a good, better, best. And as we started to understand the value we could add, we did increase the rates because we're like, okay.
And I'm not going off topic. How did you know then how to compensate your employees early on? Because you're telling
Well,
them.
we did.
Right.
And,
Well, so
and
that kind of a
they,
discount.
because
It was a bit
it's
of
the
a
guy,
thing.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Wait, if I can just point out the movie reference, the guy sitting in Office Space with the red stapler on his
Oh,
desk,
everybody's
where
favorite.
he's working for 2 years and he's not being paid anything. It's like, we'll have to go to that clip.
Hi, Milton.
But
What's happening?
Milt, we're going to need to go ahead and move you downstairs into storage B.
No,
we
I was told I
have
could not-
some new people coming in,
No.
and we need all the
There's-
space we can get.
But there's no space.
So if you could just go ahead and
If-
pack up your
if-
stuff
if-
and move it down there,
But no,
that would be terrific.
I was told
Okay.
I could stay. Excuse me. I believe you have my stapler.
Oh, so where he's sitting, it's like, where is your office? It's downstairs in the office space. Is it office space, right? With the
Yeah,
red
it's
Office
Office
space. Oh yeah,
Space.
yeah. I just saw a clip of that the other day. My job is to talk to the people because the engineers don't. Whatever that is,
The other one we
that's a
did?
great one.
No, that was
because
we
you're-
did not know at the time.
Because you're
Yeah.
saying, which is good advice. Know your compensation. Know what you're going to pay. But how did you?
Yeah, we didn't know. It was a lot of trial and error.
Okay, next
and
episode.
We can figure.
No,
we can
listen,
figure it out.
that's the right answer.
If we'd had competitors, it would have been a little bit easier because we could see, okay,
Yeah.
what are they paying? Let's pay a little bit more. What are they charging? Let's charge a little bit more, or less, depending on where you
Well,
want
I
to.
mean,
go
what I
with
would
business.
take from that, Matt, where you jokingly said, let's move to the next episode. Maybe we should. No, but what I was going to say is the takeaway from me from that is that if you're out there and you're stressed or you're anxious, like, how do I come up with this? It's like, you may need to bumble through it.
Yeah.
Ryan bumbled through it, got to a number that works. It's like, you set a number for your team. The team is either going to react to it and say, I've been doing some homework, or I'm hearing, and you start to get a pulse on. You like to think you did your homework to set up and establish the pay grade for the employees that work for you, but you get that feedback back.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, what we're hearing is this or this, and then you go and validate it, and you're like, well, that's not actually the case. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. They're not really giving you what you think it is pay wise, but you will get feedback real time. And I think the takeaway from what Brian's saying is that you're not always going to know to set that pay grade, but you got to start somewhere, and it may be trial and error.
Do you remember your first employees you were trying to hire? What was that conversation? Did they go, yeah, we'll take it? Or did they try to really go, that seems too low? Do you remember how you had to build that? Because to Brad's point, I'd imagine that not only are you trying to find a price point with the Pioneer business for the people you're selling to, but now you got to find a price point for those to work for you.
Right. So for us, I don't know if you remember, but I said one of the things we did was we hired kind of the workers first, and in hindsight, I would have gone back and hired the leaders first to build the team. So for a worker, it's a little bit easier because you can ask payroll companies and HR companies, hey, what does the average sales rep that sells this kind of volume in Chicago for service business get paid? What does a customer service rep in this kind of business? So it had nothing to do with us. It was more, what is their role in the company? And we're just assuming we're going to be about the same as others. As we figured out, really the bigger change came as we developed the roles themselves and said, okay, at this company, you're not just answering phone calls, you're doing this, this, and this. And then, how do people react? It's like, well, wait a minute. Do we need people with more experience? Hence, we're going to have to pay more.
Mm-hmm.
Or do people push back and say, I'm working too hard. It's not fair. I need a raise. Those are all the inputs and that go into figuring out. Because eventually, when we brought in people who had experience and had already run and built departments, they knew that was part of the experience they brought. Oh, Brian, tell me what you want these people to do. I would tell him, he's like, this is how much you're going to have to pay.
So you say you wish you would have built, if you had to go back, build your leadership team first. because
People
that
who knew
that
like,
would have done
if
what
this
for
is
you.
what you want, we can get these people at this price, as opposed to me spending 3 years trying to figure out what level person I need, how much I need to pay them, what components to the comp are important to them versus what I think.
Is that real, by
important.
the way? 3 years? About 3 years?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you're not in the office asking those questions and you're working out of your basement, yeah, that sort of thing happens. You know, the thing is, no, you know what I was going to say? I was going to relay a payroll thing that I think is really interesting. And I don't know if I keep thinking about it as we talk about comp, like this could go like 5 different directions. Let me just tell you one thing. I was talking to the team, and let me tell you something that comes up for somebody that's leading an organization that has several hundred employees. And this is what I do with. So at the end of the year, you're budgeting out and you're like, okay, what are we setting aside for merit increases for the entire company going into the year? Now, it doesn't mean every last employee, this merit, but you got to set a number and say, we're going to pay X, right? And so, you know, we have a down year, whatever, and maybe it's a tougher year, maybe revenue's not what you think it is, and you're like, okay, you're trying to figure this out. And I remember one year a few years ago where we didn't have any extra money, and I said, well, let's put in a 1.5% merit increase for our employees, right? And that was like, you know, $250,000, which at that time is a ton of cash.
Yeah.
Is a ton of cash across 500 employees, going across all comp. Okay. And you're going, man, we are really, really rubbing sticks together to come up with a fire to generate this 1.5% for our employees. Okay. Then you put it out there and the employees come back and say, that's it? That's all I get? 1.5? This is bullshit. I'm not happy about this. And I'm going, you know what? I would rather deal with the upset, frustrated employee base with zero increase than the $250,000 I just put in for them that they didn't appreciate anyways.
Right.
And now they don't want to hear that, but the reality is when you're running a business and you're investing and you're saying, God, I'm doing everything I possibly can for these guys, and they don't see it as enough, business is taking a beating. Morale is bad, or morale is upset because they're not getting what they want anyways. I'm like, I just made it zero. I would have been happier. The business would have been in a stronger financial position, and I would have had the same morale within the employees anyways, in a time frame when we couldn't afford to pay it anyways. What did I get? What did the company benefit from that? And I know there's employees out there that will hear this, and I'm saying those are the things that nobody takes into consideration, that the business did something that it did not actually have the financial wherewithal to do, but wanted to do something for our employees, and it still didn't satisfy. So the result was poor or negative morale with a $200,000 to $250,000 black eye. And I said, why did we even do that? And that's how comp actually sits with me.
And it connects very well to your earlier statement of, we offered everyone 401ks and nobody used them. Like, well, then
no one cares.
There's no value there. So it's almost like, where's that value?
Where's the value? Well, so I'm really curious. You called it a merit increase, but you made it sound like more like a cost of living increase. Did everybody get up 1.5%? Or was that a pile of money that you could give some people 6%, some got 0?
Correct. So the 1.5 is budgeted across 570 employees, saying that some people are going to get 3, some people are going to get 0, some people are going to get a half, some people are going to. But the reality is, like, you're trying to set something aside to show your employees like you do care. And when it's all processed and done, the company takes writes out an amount of money we really don't have to spend, and the employees are still upset. So it's like, wow, well, what did we accomplish there?
Well, we're not ending. We are scratching the surface. So we are going to break this up into different episodes. So I want to stick to a little bit of compensation. And I remember by your side, there were competing companies who were not taking out any taxes and telling people, we're paying you $10 more than anyone else. And they all come running back to you. And you're like, have you done the math? Wow. You're getting paid less. And boy, I felt bad for the employees because they were taken for a ride, because here they were promised all this extra money. They don't understand the taxes and the health insurance and all that. And they would come back, and I remember you had the task of saying, let us educate you. You're being taken for a ride here. You're getting paid less if you do all the math.
It was a lot of small group discussions where you'd have to pull 4, 5, 6 people in a conference room and say, let us explain what's happening here. Let us give it. Now, some of those people would still walk out of the room saying, I don't understand. Some of the people would be like, you've got to be kidding me. All right. I can't believe they're doing that. And some people are like, I always knew you guys were taking care of us because you guys have always been, you you always looked after the employees. But the reality is, to your point, Matt, it took multiple conversations and multiple communication. That's what I'm saying. One of the most underrated aspects of any successful company is communication. Because if that's not explained and people don't get it, it's like your employees are left in kind of a vacuum to figure things out for themselves, and they start to build narratives that aren't true, and they start to think, well, this company doesn't care about me. That company there that's dangling the carrot, the silver shiny thing out there, I'm going to go after that. When in reality, it's a facade. It's a mirage. So the reality is that unless you are communicating consistently, and really provide the full picture for employees. Most of the employees aren't looking at their paychecks to that level of degree. You have to explain stuff,
No, and that company went out of business.
They shouldn't have to. I mean, they really shouldn't have to. They should be be able to count on their companies, but they should understand.
Yeah.
They should understand what taxes are and what's being taken out of their payroll. And, a lot of people, when they hear I'm making $50,000 a year, they think they're getting $50,000, and they're not. They're getting $50,000 minus all taxes that have to be withdrawn, any healthcare subsidies that aren't paid, any 401k.
Well, and that company that's out of business now, and I believe not specifics, but in that scenario, if a client canceled, they got zero. So they didn't even explain that. They just said, "Here's your hourly rate," and it just caused this. You just caused this firestorm of what? We're getting paid so much more. It's like, no, do the math.
Well, yeah, and everybody compares, especially this generation now. Everybody talks about what they get paid. That never used to happen.
Yeah,
and that creates issues because then you got to explain why there's differences. And I don't know. I think we talked about how many topics there are. Just I think the cost of living raises is a big one. Merit increases I'd love to discuss because we settled into a very specific way of doing it, and it was not an annual all employees get reviewed and you either get a raise or you don't. It was based on your individual role and what you were supposed to accomplish by when, and then bonuses. Like we had the same issue. There was some years we came in at the end of the year, we had no money in the bonus pool. And so Jelly of the Month Club, because there is no cash to pay.
Do I not know? Is that a business phrase?
No, that's
Jelly of the Month Club?
That's from National Lampoon's Holiday Vacation.
Oh, wow.
Christmas Vacation.
Wow.
Christmas Vacation.
When Chevy Chase is
Christmas Vacation.
I've seen it.
He wants to put a pool in his backyard.
Yeah.
And instead of his bonus check, he gets Jelly of the Month.
Oh, he's waiting for his bonus check.
That's a deep cut.
Clark, what's wrong? Honey? It's bigger than you expected? Smaller? What is it?
It's a 1-year membership in the Jelly of the Month Club.
Oh, God.
Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
That's
a deep Jelly of the Month Club. I've seen that like 5 times. All right. Well, we'll talk about merit. We'll talk about that because I also want to ask about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s. That's actually interesting. How you rate people? Who's a 5? Who's a 3? I think that's a conversation. So let's
performance reviews.
Performance reviews. Like I'm a 5. Well,
this is kind of this topic and how many different parts we can go into it is kind of like the professor from Back to School when Rodney Dangerfield's sitting there and he goes, I have one question in 27 pots. That's what this is like.
So in order for you to be a part of the conversation moving forward so you can hear about all this stuff, again, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us, builds up our viewership. Send us comments. We want to respond to them and just spread the word. So
you'll get nothing and like it.
This is how Matt gets compensated. How many people subscribe?
Exactly.
No, I get compensated with this is my compensation. I think of breath freshener.
Click.
So until next time.
See ya. Thanks.